Today I will be showcasing my endgame build and tell you how to play Vaseraga to get the most out of him. This character is capable of dishing out tons of damage with his heavy charged attacks, dealing upwards of 1 million damage and cutting through bosses' HP like it's nobody's business. In this video I will be going through all the skills, sigils, weapons and overall optimizations so that you can get the most out of this character and build. Hello everyone, my name is Dark Hero and welcome to my Vaseraga build video. If you are enjoying my Granblue Fantasy Relink videos and would like to see more character showcases in the future, let me know which ones I should cover next. So Vaseraga is an extremely slow character. As you can see, his basic attacks are actually quite slow, but his main mechanic is all about doing charged attacks to increase the meter that you see right there, with each of the icons below the side giving you a corresponding buff. So let's go ahead and press the triangle button. And right now we gain Stout Heart for as long as that bar is showing up. And you gain this bar by finishing combos and doing triangle attacks. And now that it's glowing, we do that big damage. You can also do this off of link attacks. Right now we also gain a defense buff, and as you can see right there, that is tons of damage. If you simply hold the triangle button, you're going to do this, which doesn't do any damage, and the only purpose of this is to simply maintain the bar from going down, as it will decrease over time if you don't hit enemies. And it also refreshes the duration of your Stout Heart buff. So let's go ahead and max that out very quickly. And now we also gain an attack buff on top. So whenever you do a big charged attack, as you can see, the damage output is absolutely insane. And since we have Stout Heart, you'll be able to power through monster attacks without any issues. Now let's go over some of his skills, as they can be also extremely potent. Battalion Sphere is this gap closer that also goes into an uppercut, launching the enemies into the air, and then you can follow up with a powerful charged attack. Like so. Great Sight Grynoth is this heavy and slow moving attack that deals a ton of damage, and again you can follow it up with a powerful charged attack. Umbral Eclipse is this big AoE slow that is mostly used to guarantee that you'll be able to land your big powerful charged attacks without any issues, and also provides some party-wide utility for Vaseraga. Immortal Pain is this self buff that allows Vaseraga to simply not die for as long as the buff is active. You can see the buff icon right below Vaseraga's HP, and it also gives you all debuffs immunities, so you don't have to worry about getting frozen, getting slowed or anything like that. You can simply focus on aggression. This also allows you to tap into sigils like Enmity, which will boost your damage by decreasing your HP, but we're going to go over the sigils in a moment. Forgotten Tales is another self buff that grants Vaseraga life drain, meaning that you'll be able to heal with each of your attacks, and the more damage your attacks deal, the more HP you'll be able to regain, granting Vaseraga a lot more survivability and allowing him to sustain himself without you having to rely on any sort of healers. Additionally, Forgotten Tales also grants hostility towards Vaseraga, which is a self-taunt, meaning that enemies will be more likely to attack you. Violent Shadows is this big AoE damaging pull that will heal Vaseraga for as long as you keep on holding the button. On the other hand, Damnation is this big scythe attack that you can have multiple charges of, and as you can see right here, you lose a portion of your HP each time you use it, with it dealing more damage the lower HP you are. So you can use this in combination with Vaseraga's Undying buff to make sure that you are able to use this with as little HP as you can to deal the most damage possible. Finally, we have Nether Wrath, which is this big AoE attack that takes a long wind-up, and during this time you'll be taking reduced damage, and the more damage you take during this animation, the more damage you'll be able to dish out whenever you perform the button and counter. So as you can see, Vaseraga is all about tanking damage, losing HP to deal more damage, unleashing these very powerful attacks, and charging up his meter to deal even more powerful charged heavy attacks. Like so. So now let's go over Vaseraga's equipment, as there is quite a bit that I want to show you. So first of all, when it comes to Vaseraga's sigils, I'm actually not a huge fan of one of its signature sigils, with the one called Ebony's Present extending the time before your gauge starts depleting. So with this, you'll have twice as much time before you land an attack, so your gauge doesn't start depleting. It's a nice quality of life addition to your build, but it ever really becomes useful in some boss fights, particularly the ones that have these big AoE abilities, where you can't damage them while they are active. Not all of the bosses in this game have it, so depending on what boss you're going to be fighting against, this can or cannot be useful. So right now I don't even have it unlocked. I haven't made it the highest priority for me to get it, because it is so situational. On the other hand, Ebony's Poise, the second Vaseraga signature sigil, is a lot more valuable as it allows you to shorten Vaseraga's skill cooldowns whenever you land a triangle charged attack, with the effect increasing based on the attack. So as you can see right here, you can reduce your skill cooldown by 0.6% all the way up to 8% if you land a charged attack. That may not seem like much, but because Vaseraga's gameplay loop is all about charged attacks and combining them with skills, you'll be landing so many of them that this is going to be very useful. Now, as for my recommended sigils, I would say that damage cap is going to be your highest priority. As with Vaseraga, we want to land those big beefy hits to try to deal as much damage as possible, and that only becomes possible if we increase our damage cap. Damage cap is just in general one of the very best sigils in the entire game, but I think it's even more powerful and important in cases like Vaseraga. Tyranny will reduce your max health in exchange for a boost to your attack, going all the way up to 50% extra attack, and the total HP that you end up losing never gets increased, so losing 20% max HP to be able to dish out that much attack is a huge benefit. And with you being able to use a skill to become Undying with Vaseraga, having less HP becomes a lot less threatening for this character. Life on the Line can also be a very good sigil to add to Vaseraga's build, as it's going to increase your attack up to 50%, with the downside being that your teammates cannot heal you. However, with Vaseraga having many skills that grant him self-sustain, and even being a character that has the ability to not die, he's one of the better characters to take advantage of this sigil. And as I stated before, Enmity can also be a very useful skill on Vaseraga, as it's going to boost your attack based on how low your HP is, going all the way up to a 100% increase. However, the way that I like to play Vaseraga is a little bit different, and as you saw from the gameplay before, I'm still able to hit incredible damage numbers. So as you can see, the build that I have includes the Ebony's Poise, 6 damage cap sigils, which grants me damage cap level 61. Ideally, I would like to have this at level 65, because I'm already hitting the damage cap, and that's what is preventing me from dealing over 1 million damage. I also have Tyranny to increase my damage output at the cost of my own HP. Now, Overdrive Assassin is a very interesting skill, and it may potentially be one of the best sigils in the entire game, as it will increase your damage dealt, which is more important than simply increasing your attack, as damage dealt is going to take into account your crit damage and any sort of buffs that you may have added to your character, whereas simply increasing your attack is not going to take those into effect. So in general, sigils that grant damage dealt are going to be more valuable in the long run. And with enemies taking so much time in Overdrive, especially in the endgame, I feel like it's a very good trait to add to your characters. Additionally, I also have critical hit damage level 8 with a crit damage 4 sigil. Ideally, it would be a crit damage 5 sigil, and it would be all the way up to level 15. I still need to level up some of these sigils, and I'm using the Soul Eater Scythe, which is the one that grants me critical hit rate and critical hit damage, and I have also imbued weak point damage and critical hit damage. So with this, I end up with a 70% critical hit rate, and I'll be doing 48% more damage whenever I land a crit, making those big powerful charged attacks even more powerful. Now, I still want to level up my Ascension weapon, because it may potentially be more powerful than the Soul Eater once I have it fully upgraded. But for the time being, I am using the Soul Eater, which grants me quite a few nice bonuses, and since I already have a 69% crit chance, I don't feel the need to add even more crit chance, and so I go with Quick Charge, which will decrease the amount of time it takes for my charged attacks by 16% at level 11, and if I were to level this sigil to level 15, that charge time would be reduced by 21%, which is a huge boost, and I would also increase my attack by 14%. As you can see, my Vaseraga is also missing one sigil, and when we take a look at all of my masteries, I'm only at 82% on offense, 65% on defense, and my weapons look like this. And I haven't even touched Overmastery. So as you can see, I don't like to run Enmity on Vaseraga as much. That can be a very powerful way for you to build damage for this character, but personally I prefer to use Umbral Eclipse over Damnation, which is the skill that consumes your HP to deal more damage with this big powerful slash, which in combination with Enmity would be very powerful. but personally I like to have more utility on Vaseraga for the entire team, so having Umbral Eclipse to slow the enemies, which would open up more windows for you to land your big charged attacks, or even having Violent Shadows or Forgotten Tales for you to sustain yourself, are skills that I like to use more than Damnation, because even when I use Damnation with Enmity in combination with Immortal Pain to be at 1 HP, I find that the charged attacks simply deal more damage, and so I want to find more windows to use those as opposed to using Damnation. So there is quite a few things for me to improve on this build, but with that being said, let's go ahead and take on a Maniac quest so that I can showcase this build in action. Now let's go ahead and take on an Infernadile. I was actually going to put on an enemy that is weak to Dark Element, but Vaseraga simply deals too much damage, so I hit the damage cap regardless of whether the enemy is weak to my element or not. So let's go ahead and start dealing big damage. As you can see right there, already almost at 1,000,000 damage with just 3 hits. Infernadile's HP is already below 15%. And we're going to max out our gauge right away. Just look at that damage. Incredible damage output. Sadly, we missed that charged attack, but that is fine. We're able to max that out again, and because I'm low HP, we're going to use Undying, which also gets rid of any sort of debuffs that we were going to have. Let's chase the Infernadile and land a big powerful charged attack, like so. Just look at that amount of damage. It's absolutely absurd what this character can do. And because of our signature sigil, we just can keep on spamming our skills, as they're going to have a much lower cooldown, and those skills will very easily lead onto our powerful charged attack. Now right there I healed up to full because my Undying buff ended, but that's pretty much it when it comes to Vaseraga's HP management, because I'm not using Enmity, and I'm also not using the skill that drains my HP. Our gauge is back down because Infernadile was running around all over the place. I was not able to catch him up, and that's where the second signature sigil would have been useful. I'm still debating whether or not I want to use it on Vaseraga. Again, it's very much dependent on what type of boss fight you're going to be doing, but it's still very useful. Let's go ahead and build up our gauge to full. Insane damage, and let's go ahead and use our SVA before we kill him without using it. We already broke all of the destructible parts, and with this we're going to get an S++. As you can see, we're going to be able to kill Infernadile in under 3 minutes. Let's just have Cagliostro finish that off. Just insane damage output from this team and just this character alone. And one more time, I didn't even pick an enemy that is weak to my element because Vaseraga just deals way too much damage. Now let's see if we got something good. Nice, combo booster 5, that's very good. And that has been my showcase for Vaseraga's endgame build. Let me know if there was anything that you guys would like to see changed on this build and what character you would like me to cover next. I absolutely Vaseraga, he is a beast of a character in this game, and he may just be the character that deals the most damage output in a single hit. With that being said, thank you all so much for watching. My name is Dark Hero, and as always, happy hunting!